Well, hello everyone. I'm Dave Gray from the Center for Teaching and Learning, and this is another one of our opportunities to think about good ideas about teaching. I'm here today with Ryan Fisher from biology.
Yep.
And by the way, I just want everybody to know that Ryan is a recipient of a teaching award just recently for some fine teaching that he's done in a changing context, from what I understand, in the context of biology labs, but there are some changes going on in the teaching in biology labs. So tell us about that, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. It's changed quite a bit. I had done my undergrad degree here at the university, and so I had a chance to take this class when it was sort of the old format where you sit down by yourself, try to cram as much information in your head and try to regurgitate as much information as possible on an exam.
A lab final.
Yeah, on a lab final and a lab midterm, yeah.
Right.
Your only marks were on a lab midterm and a lab final, so just exam marks.
Yeah.
And then I came back to do a PhD here, and I had the chance to teach the lab in the same format that I took it as an undergrad. But then several years ago, or a couple years ago now, we've switched things around a little bit in terms of the lab content and the lab format. And so now the students are all working in groups, so they're all doing group work.
Oh, so they're not on their own like you were?
No, they're in a group of 5 other students.
Okay.
They work together to mainly solve different problems that we give them in sort of the context of information that they're getting in class. So expanding on theories and learning how to apply the knowledge that they get in class to solving a particular problem in the lab. And so they work together as a group, they solve the problem as a group, they also get evaluated as a group. They do have some marking on their own, but in terms of a TA, it's definitely it's been a little bit of a challenge to adjust.
Yeah, because it must have altered your role as a lab instructor, hasn't it?
Yes, exactly. So as a lab instructor, we basically went from someone who was providing the information to the students. So we were sort of the person to come to ask questions about if they couldn't see something on a slide, or just general information that they couldn't get sort of on their own.
Yeah.
To now where we basically give them the problem at the beginning of the lab, and they're asked to come up with a solution to that problem or to design an experiment to that problem. And we're basically there to sort of keep them on the right track, but also prod them, into designing new and sort of interesting experiments, and not necessarily to answer questions, but more to just more interact, sort of as peers, not peers, but colleagues, I guess.
Colleagues, yeah. And so in this type of a model, information isn't at the heart of the learning experience. It's as if a problem drives the learning.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they're definitely, it's been a shift away from sort of memorizing information to solving problems, and so it's also been a bit of a challenge to get the students on board. A lot of them wanted to know, everyone thinks that science or biology, there's a absolute right or absolute wrong answer.
Yes.
And in this context, it's very open-ended. So they do the experiment that they design, and then the outcome is really dependent on that experiment. So there's no exact right or wrong answer. It's more how well they can make their argument to us, and whether or not we sort of buy what they're selling, I guess.
Yeah. So I can imagine that this sort of a shift is a little bit unsettling for you as an instructor and for the students as well. So how have you helped them or yourself just say, it's okay, we can adopt this sort of an approach, and we can still identify what learning is happening or what learning needs to happen?
Right. Yeah. No. I think the students they seem to really enjoy sort of the group aspect of things. So I think that just that the students are enjoying the lab, that sort of has helped us make the transition from where you're just kind of stuck. In a lab, you have to be there, but because they're in a group of 6 people, they're making friends, they're making a small study group.
Yes.
We have lots of interaction on the internet through a forum with the lab.
Yeah.
Students are able to ask questions, and so I think that's made the transition a little bit easier.
Good.
For the TAs, it's obviously been a bit of a difficult, not difficult transition, but it's just something different from how we would normally teach a lab, where you stand up at the beginning for 15 minutes, sort of spew out all the information they need to know.
Yeah.
In this case, we're more just around to guide and help out, answer general questions and things like that. But but we're not sort of a fountain of information, I guess, anymore.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
How about, I'm wondering, do you think that this sort of model would be transferable into other departments or into other disciplines?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Just from my own experience, I also teach a 4th-year lab at the university on bird biology. So I've taken it. There's still a little bit of information that you sort of have to cover as a baseline, but I've definitely tried to incorporate sort of more group work in that particular lab, and having the students sort of get together to solve a problem rather than me telling them what to do. And definitely I've changed my exams around a little bit to not just memorizing, but also giving them real world problems, and students are then have to write sort of a small essay or argument about a particular real world problem in the context of what they've learned in the lab. So it's definitely changed a little bit of how I teach even upper year classes.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I can imagine that the real world relevance would be another thing that students would buy into and say, hey, this is worthwhile, beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in biology, I think we have a pretty unique opportunity to show students how biology sort of interacts with their real life. So it's very easy for us to, talk about birds because everyone sees a bird on their way to school, or everyone sees a tree on their way to school. So definitely in the labs that I teach, and in sort of the new Biology 100 lab, we're definitely trying to introduce students to what they might see in Saskatchewan or around Regina, so to make it sort of directly applicable in terms of content about what they're seeing in their everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, it sounds like real birds, real life, real learning, and real satisfying for you.
Yep, definitely. It's been a great experience so far. So.
Well, thanks very much for coming and sharing some of your experiences with us, Ryan. And,
no problem.
Thanks for joining us, and click on another video when you have a moment and get some more ideas that might influence your teaching.
Perfect. Thanks.